He inherited a hotel empire worth millions. She worked night shifts just to survive. When corruption threatened everything he'd built, he made a desperate choice, become someone else entirely.
I'm Marcus. Nice to meet you.
We night shift people have to stick together.
For weeks, she shared her dreams with a man she thought was just like her. But when the truth surfaced, everything shattered.
You're not Marcus the cleaner. You're Dorian Ellis. You own everything.
Those conversations, those moments, they were real. The only thing that wasn't real was my name.
But can a foundation built on lies ever become strong enough for love? Will Leah forgive the deception that brought them together, or will the truth tear them apart forever? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. Now, a billionaire who learned what love truly means must fight for the woman who saw his heart when she thought he had nothing. The morning sun shone through the wall-to-wall windows of the Ellis Hotel Group's top-floor conference room. Dorian Ellis stood with his hands pressed against the glass, looking down at the Atlanta skyline. At 30 years old, he was the youngest hotel chain heir in the city, and possibly the most troubled. "They stole almost $2 million, Dorian," said James, his silver-haired financial advisor. The manager was skimming from every department. Housekeeping staff weren't paid overtime. Some weren't even making minimum wage. Dorian turned away from the window, his jaw tight. And nobody noticed? Nobody said anything. James shuffled through papers on the large mahogany table. "The Ellis name has taken a hit. Your father worked his whole life to build this company's reputation. They were afraid to lose their jobs. The manager threatened them. We have contractors for that. People act differently when they know who I am." Dorian paced the room, an idea forming. The Peachtree Hotel will be partially operational during renovations. They'll need extra cleaning staff. You should focus on damage control with the press. His mother had been black, his father white, and he'd inherited both his mother's thick hair and his father's sharp business sense. Who respects the business? Who's just putting on a show? Gone was Dorian's designer wardrobe, replaced with simple khaki pants and a blue work shirt. He'd grown a short beard and added glasses with clear lenses. The transformation was simple but effective. What he hadn't inherited was his father's blind trust in executives. Dorian ran a hand through his short, dark curls. It was strange being invisible in his own hotel. "Trash goes down the service elevator to the loading dock. Don't talk to guests unless they talk to you first." Pete handed him a mop and bucket. "Start with the lobby." "I understand your frustration, sir. We've placed you on our highest floor, which is furthest from the renovation work. The day shift always leaves it a mess." As he pushed the mop across the floor, he noticed a young woman at the check-in desk dealing with an angry guest. The man shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "The renovation at the Peachtree location starts next week," Dorian said. "I want to be involved." She looked exhausted as she collapsed into a chair and pulled out a sandwich from her bag. Half the space was blocked off with plastic sheeting for the renovation, making the open area more crowded than usual. Business travelers huddled around the temporary check-in desk, looking annoyed at the inconvenience. But there was no flash of recognition in her eyes. Involved how? That's a polite way of putting it. She unwrapped her sandwich and then broke it in half, offering a piece to him. "Hungry? I always pack too much." "I'm doing double duty this week. Classes during the day, internship at night." Dorian shook his head. "No, I need to understand what's happening in my hotels when nobody's watching. I've also noted your account for a room upgrade on your next stay at any Ellis property. So hire better managers. Do surprise inspections." She was a housekeeper at the Marriott for 20 years, raised me by herself. "Break's over. Marcus, there's a spill on the 3rd floor. Leah, front desk needs backup." She taught me that hospitality is about making people feel valued. I need to see my business through different eyes. He saw how some employees cut corners when supervisors weren't looking, while others, like Leah, went above and beyond even when no one would notice. Her eyes lit up when she talked about her dream. Nothing huge like the Ellis chain, just a small inn where people feel at home. That won't work. If a guest comes down to breakfast and sees dirty tables, that sets the tone for their whole stay. And profit margins, not these small details that actually shaped the guest experience. James stared at him. "You can't be serious." She was pretty, with her hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing the standard hotel blazer and skirt. Most people just want to get through their shift, she smiled. I like that about you. These moments had become a highlight of his strange double life. But it was her patience that caught his attention. I'm going to work there. Night shift pays better, and I need the money. My scholarship only covers tuition, not living expenses. Why work these terrible hours when you could do your internship during the day? He mopped floors, cleaned bathrooms, and emptied countless trash bins. His muscles ached in places he didn't know could hurt. Every conversation with Leah felt like building a friendship on quicksand. She straightened her shoulders. According to her application, she was maintaining a 3.8 GPA while working nearly full-time. My mom worked harder for less. At least I get to learn the business side too. But more than the physical toll, it was the emotional reality that stunned him. If we want quality managers who care about more than just the bottom line, we need to support them now. When was the last time he'd thought about his business that way? He told himself his decision was purely business, that he'd have done the same for any hard-working student. But deep down, he knew there was more to it. It felt strange to be back in a tailored suit, sitting at the head of the table while executives presented reports. His mind kept drifting to the night before, mopping floors alongside people who would never be invited into this room. If she moved to day shifts, their late-night conversations would end. Then suddenly, everything changed. Full scholarship plus a stipend for living expenses. She looked up at him, her eyes shining. I don't have to work night shifts anymore. She looked thoughtful. I just wish I knew who to thank. I can focus on my classes and still pay rent. Dorian was secretly relieved. Each night they worked together, they grew closer. As a cleaner, Dorian learned about Leah's childhood, raised by a single mother who worked hotel housekeeping jobs to put food on the table. He learned about her dreams of creating a small inn where every guest felt like family, under a different name. Unlike the wealthy children of his social circle who had everything handed to them, Leah was fighting for her dreams. The more he got to know Leah, the more he respected her, and the more impossible it felt to tell her the truth. While cleaning the administrative offices, he overheard the day manager, Richard, on the phone. I am. We'll split the difference, just like last time. Instead, he went to his real office across town, changed into a suit, and called for an emergency meeting with his financial team. How many Richard types were working throughout his hotel chain, skimming money while hard-working people like Leah gave everything for minimal pay? The temptation to stay in his real life, to use his power openly to fix these problems, was strong. But something pulled him back to the Peachtree Hotel, or rather, someone. This is ridiculous, Dorian. You're worth over $200 million. He wanted to confront Richard immediately, but that would blow his cover. Instead, he quietly continued mopping, making a mental note to launch an official investigation. And that's exactly why I need to do this, Dorian said firmly. I'm sure it's just routine, he said, knowing it wasn't. The people at the bottom always pay the price. 1 week later, Marcus Jones reported for his first night shift at the Ellis Peachtree Hotel. No one will notice if we use lower-grade materials than what's on the invoice. As just another rich person who couldn't be trusted? The night manager, a tired-looking man named Pete, barely glanced at him during orientation. Just a thank you card and a request to turn in her uniform. Break's over. The day manager has been diverting funds from the renovation budget. Leah's eyes flashed with anger. I never trust rich people. They don't see us, not really. They don't think our dreams matter. Cleaning supplies are in these closets on each floor. I want to hold a recognition event for the night staff, the people who keep our hotels running when no one's watching. Dorian, now Marcus, nodded and wheeled his bucket toward the main lobby. He started mopping near the entrance, keeping his head down as executives in suits walked past without noticing him. Don't forget you're evaluating the final intern presentations tomorrow. The hospitality program students will each have 15 minutes to present their hotel management projects. Dorian was firm. And I want to announce a new management training program for promising employees at all levels of the company. She would see him as Dorian Ellis for the first time. His secret would be exposed. After an hour of mopping, his back ached. He'd never realized how hard the marble floors were until he had to stand on them for hours. I specifically requested a room away from the construction. What had started as a business investigation had become personal. He cared what Leah thought of him, not as Dorian Ellis, hotel magnate, but as a person. Dressed in his finest suit, hair perfectly styled, he looked nothing like the night cleaner Marcus. One chance to tell her the truth before she discovered it herself. The young woman, her name tag read Leah, kept her voice calm and professional. "This is unacceptable. Don't you know who I am? I'm a Platinum Rewards member." The building was intimidating, all glass and steel rising above the Atlanta skyline. He found Leah in the lobby, arranging chairs for an early morning meeting. Her project on improving guest loyalty had taken hundreds of hours to prepare. The hotel owner will be there, Dorian Ellis himself. "Leah, there's something I need to tell you." Dorian watched as Leah maintained her composure. "You'll each have 15 minutes to present, followed by 5 minutes of questions. Sir, I can offer you complimentary breakfast and late checkout." "Marcus," pipe burst on the 4th floor. "Grab your mop and get up there now." The man grumbled, but eventually took his keycard. Leah's smile never faltered, though Dorian could see the tension in her shoulders. Later that night, as Marcus was emptying trash bins in the staff break room, Leah walked in. She noticed him and smiled. "You're new, right? I'm Leah Bryant. I'm in the internship program." "Marcus," he said simply, wondering if she'd recognize him as Dorian Ellis. "Nice to meet you, Marcus. How's your first day going?" "It's educational," he replied honestly. Leah laughed. Dorian hesitated, then accepted. "Thanks." "No problem. We night shift people have to stick together." She took a bite of her sandwich. "That sounds exhausting." "It is, but it'll be worth it. I'm in the hospitality management program. I want to open my own place someday." Dorian found himself wanting to hear more. "What made you choose this industry?" "My mum," Leah said with pride in her voice. Before he could respond, Pete stuck his head in the door. As they headed back to work, Dorian found himself thinking about Leah's words, making people feel valued. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became a regular part of the night shift. He watched as day managers spoke rudely to the cleaning staff, but smiled warmly at guests seconds later. One night, he found Leah wiping down tables in the temporary breakfast area long after her shift had ended. "You don't have to do that," he said. "Isn't that morning crew's job?" Leah shrugged. "They're short-staffed, and first impressions matter." Dorian had never thought about it that way. As an owner, he'd been focused on luxury amenities. Later that night, they shared vending machine snacks in the break room. "You're different from the other cleaners," Leah observed, opening a bag of chips. "You notice things, ask questions." Dorian felt a flash of panic. "What do you mean?" "Just that you seem interested in how everything works." Relief washed over him, followed by guilt. "What about you?" he asked, turning the focus away from himself. Leah's expression grew more serious. "It must be hard." "It is what it is." As they talked, Dorian found himself drawn to her determination. The next day, Dorian attended a board meeting as himself. "Mr. Ellis, your thoughts on the scholarship program?" asked Helen from HR. Dorian refocused. "The scholarship program? For hospitality students, we've narrowed it down to 5 candidates, but we can only sponsor 3 this year due to budget constraints." "Let me see the list," Dorian said. He scanned the names, his heart jumping when he saw Leah Bryant. "I want to increase the funding," he said suddenly. "We should sponsor all 5. The executives exchanged glances. "That's generous, Dorian, but after the financial scandal," began the CFO. "This isn't about generosity," Dorian interrupted. "It's about investment. These students are the future of our industry." His conviction silenced the objections. The meeting moved on, but Dorian's mind was still on Leah. That night, Marcus arrived for his shift to find the staff break room buzzing with excitement. "Did you hear?" said Tony, another cleaner. "They expanded the scholarship program? More money, more students getting help." Across the room, Leah sat staring at her phone, her eyes wide with disbelief. "I got it," she whispered when Marcus approached. "That's amazing," he said, genuinely happy for her, but feeling a strange disappointment too. "There's something weird, though," she added. "My application was waitlisted last week. The advisors said there wasn't enough funding." Guilt twisted in Dorian's stomach. He'd used his position to help her, but he couldn't tell her that. Sometimes good things just happen, he offered weakly. Leah shook her head. In my experience, good things happen because someone makes them happen. Despite receiving the scholarship, Leah continued working some night shifts, explaining to Marcus that she wanted to complete her internship requirements. They developed routines, taking breaks together, sharing meals, helping each other with difficult tasks. One night, as they waxed the lobby floor together, she asked about his family. Not much to tell, he said, sticking close to the cover story he'd created. Parents aren't in the picture, no siblings. So you're on your own too, she said with understanding in her eyes. That's why you work so hard. He nodded, feeling like the worst kind of fraud. 3 weeks into his undercover mission, Dorian made a troubling discovery. Don't worry about it, Richard was saying. The renovation budget has plenty of padding. Dorian froze outside the door, mop in hand. Ellis never checks these details, Richard continued. It was exactly the kind of corruption Dorian had suspected. When he finished his shift that morning, he didn't go home. By that evening, auditors were reviewing every purchase order for the renovation. But the discovery had left Dorian with a bitter taste. That night, Dorian almost didn't go back as Marcus. He found Leah in the break room looking upset. "What's wrong?" he asked, sitting across from her. "They're saying there might be layoffs," she said. "There are auditors everywhere. People are scared." Dorian hadn't considered how his investigation would affect the staff. "Nothing is ever routine when rich people start looking at budgets," Leah said with unexpected bitterness. "You don't know that's what will happen," he argued. "Don't I? My mum lost her job in a restructuring after 20 years of service. No warning, no real severance." Her words hit Dorian like a physical blow. Is that how she would see him if she knew the truth? "Not everyone with money is like that," he said quietly. "Maybe not, but I've never met one who proved otherwise." She stood up. I should get back to work. As he watched her walk away, Dorian realized he was in deeper than he'd planned, and he was terrified that when she inevitably discovered his deception, she would never forgive him. The next morning, Dorian called a staff meeting at headquarters. "The audit at the Peachtree location has uncovered serious misconduct," he told his executive team. "What are you going to do?" asked James. "Fire him, obviously, and press charges." Dorian straightened his tie. "But there's something else. The cleaning crew." Someone sounded confused. "Yes, and the night desk staff, security, everyone, with bonuses." "That's going to be expensive," warned the CFO. "So is losing good people because we don't value them," Dorian countered. "I've been paying attention. It's time we all did." As the meeting ended, his assistant handed him a schedule. Dorian nodded, suddenly realizing what this meant. Leah would be there. He had one night left as Marcus. That night, Dorian arrived at work with a knot in his stomach. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Sure, but I can't take a long break tonight. I'm practicing my presentation for tomorrow." She looked nervous but excited. "That's actually what I wanted to talk about." He took a deep breath. But before he could continue, Pete's voice called from across the lobby. "Go," Leah said. "We can talk later. Duty calls." The water leak kept him busy for hours. By the time he finished, it was almost morning, and Leah had already left to prepare for her presentation. His chance to tell her the truth was gone. The next day, Leah entered the Ellis Hotel's corporate headquarters, her presentation materials clutched tightly in her hands. She checked in at the front desk, was given a visitor badge and directed to the executive conference room on the top floor. Her heart pounded as the elevator climbed. This presentation accounted for half her grade, but more importantly, it was a chance to impress people who could help launch her career. The elevator doors opened onto a reception area where several other students from her program were already waiting. They all looked as nervous as she felt. "They're ready for us," announced a professional-looking woman with a tablet. Leah followed the group into a large conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows. A long table dominated the space, surrounded by executives in expensive suits. At the head of the table, with his back to the door, stood a man in a perfectly tailored navy suit. But the man at the head of the table wasn't Marcus, the night cleaner. "Welcome, students," he said as he turned around. "I'm Dorian Ellis. and I'm looking forward to your presentations." Leah's world tilted sideways. The face was the same, though clean-shaven now. The voice was the same, though more polished. He was Dorian Ellis, owner of the entire hotel chain. Their eyes locked. She saw recognition, then panic, then pleading in his expression. "Leah," he said, her name like a whisper. But she couldn't process what was happening. Every late-night conversation, every shared meal, every moment she'd thought they were connecting as equals, it had all been a lie. Without a word, she turned and walked out, her presentation forgotten, her dreams suddenly uncertain. Behind her, she heard footsteps, then his voice calling her name as she reached the elevator. "Leah, I can explain." Around him, curious executives and students whispered, but he barely heard them. "Ellis." His assistant touched his arm. "The presentations are about to begin." He took the stairs 2 at a time, racing down 20 floors. By the time he reached the lobby, he was breathing hard, his perfect suit rumpled and damp with sweat. Everyone's waiting. Outside, he spotted her walking quickly toward the bus stop. All he could think about was the look of betrayal in Leah's eyes. She stepped into the elevator and pressed the lobby button, finally looking up to meet his eyes as the doors began to close between them. "Leah, please." Dorian's voice was desperate as he reached the elevator too late. The last thing she saw was his pained expression as the doors closed, separating them as completely as the truth of his identity had just done. Her voice was controlled, but trembling. "Or maybe how you sat there listening to all my dreams and struggles, while knowing you could snap your fingers and fix everything. Can we go somewhere and talk? Please." Ellis. The formal address stung worse than if she'd slapped him. Dorian stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the closed elevator doors. "Mister, cancel them," he said abruptly. "Reschedule for next week." "How noble of you to care so much." Her words dripped with sarcasm. Leah stepped toward it. "But sir, these students have prepared," she demanded. "I saw your application." She climbed onto the bus. "Don't contact me again, Mr. Ellis. I quit my internship." Other passengers glanced at her with concern, but she ignored them. He stood on the sidewalk, tie loosened, hair disheveled, looking nothing like the powerful hotel magnate he was supposed to be. As she walked up the 3 flights of stairs to her unit, exhaustion hit her like a physical weight. "You deserved it. Was this some kind of game? See how the other half lives? Or was I just part of your research project?" Every time she'd complained about management, every story about her mother's struggles as a housekeeper, every dream she'd shared about her future, he'd heard it all from a position of power she hadn't known he possessed. Seeing the hurt on his assistant's face, he softened his tone. "After the financial scandal, unknown number. At least he was honest about that. Please just hear me out." She let it go to voicemail. "I know you bring extra food to share with night staff. I know you stay late to help others without being asked." His voice softened. "I know you want to create a place where people feel valued, and I know you're one of the most genuine people I've ever met. I'm sorry, Patricia. Please reschedule the presentations and make sure the students know it's not their fault. Tell them. The difference is, I thought I was sharing those things with Marcus, the night cleaner. The only thing that wasn't real was my name and job title. Someone like me. Not with my boss who was playing pretend." He paused. "Don't quit your internship. You've worked too hard. If it helps, I won't be involved in the program anymore. You won't have to see me." He paused. "Tell them a personal emergency came up." The outfit she'd hoped would impress Dorian Ellis. Before she knew, she'd been sharing vending machine dinners with him for weeks. He'd checked the system and confirmed she hadn't withdrawn from the internship program yet, though she hadn't shown up for any shifts. And maybe that's a good thing. He built this company, but he didn't see the people in it, not really. "I'm calling as someone who cares about you. This is about that intern, isn't it? She made me see things differently. The one you went chasing after last week." I said cancel. His voice was sharper than intended. "Did you know our housekeeping staff has the highest turnover in the industry? That costs us millions in training and quality control. But properties that treat staff better have higher guest satisfaction ratings and better profitability." Dorian ran a hand through his hair, messing it up further. Leah shook her head in disgust. "All those nights we talked, shared meals, So this grand reorganization is your way of apologizing. Dorian handed him the folder. The numbers show it will pay for itself within a year. You care about this woman. He fired Richard, the corrupt day manager, and had charges filed. He initiated a company-wide audit and developed new protocols to prevent future theft. You knew exactly who I was, but I had no idea who I was really talking to. Listen, I was going to tell you the truth last night. That's what I wanted to talk about, but then the pipe burst and, without waiting for a response, Dorian rushed to the stairwell. The elevator would be too slow. Besides, you sounded upset on the phone. I brought food. You cancelled the intern presentations. You've been distracted in meetings, and now I hear you're planning to restructure the entire management training program. He scanned the vast marble expanse, but saw no sign of Leah. Leah, he called, jogging after her. Please wait. Without her internship hours, she'd thrown herself into her coursework. About meeting Marcus, their friendship, discovering he was actually Dorian Ellis, and how betrayed she felt. But focusing was hard when her mind kept drifting to Dorian, to the man she'd known as Marcus. She kept walking, her back stiff, pace quickening. Just give me 5 minutes, he pleaded when he caught up to her. Let me explain. Found out later he owned the whole club. Teresa chopped vegetables with practiced efficiency. I was so angry when I discovered the truth. Felt like a fool. Leah stopped suddenly and turned to face him. Her eyes were dry but blazing with anger. Explain what? How you pretended to be someone else? How you lied to me for weeks? It wasn't like that, Dorian said, painfully aware they were attracting attention from passers-by. I have nothing to say to you, mister. She paused her chopping. And that's how I ended up raising you alone, working housekeeping jobs for 20 years. Leah, I never meant to hurt you. That's the last thing I wanted. Your boss called me, by the way. What did you want then? Was she letting pride stand in the way of her own dreams? No, he said desperately. It started as a way to understand what was happening in my hotels when nobody was watching. After a weekend of soul-searching, she decided to return to her internship. Not for Dorian, but for herself. Said they're holding your internship position no matter how long you need. You're back. Pete, the night manager, looked genuinely happy to see her. We've missed you. They say the big boss himself is behind it, fired that thieving day manager and started cleaning house at all levels. The temporary walls had been moved, revealing marble columns and new lighting fixtures. And your scholarship is secure. Teresa gave her daughter a knowing look. Sounds like someone's trying to make things right. I know about the scandal, she interrupted. Everyone does. The manager who stole money, mistreated staff. I did care. I do care. And you decided to let me walk into that room and make a fool of myself instead? Either way, you worked too hard for that internship to throw it away. Your feelings about him are your business, but don't punish yourself to spite him. A bus pulled up to the curb. My scholarship, she said, pausing at the bus door. That was you, wasn't it, pulling strings? Dorian couldn't deny it. I wanted to earn it, not have it handed to me because I was nice to the boss without knowing it. The bus doors closed, and Dorian watched helplessly as it pulled away, carrying Leah out of his reach. Leah sat rigid on the bus, staring straight ahead as tears finally spilled down her cheeks. Thank you. I promised to keep my distance. D. Her mind replayed every conversation with Marcus, now painfully recast with the knowledge that he had been Dorian Ellis all along. She headed to the department office, determined to focus only on her work. But I hope someday you'll let me explain. Face to face. For the first time, Leah felt her perspective as the daughter of a housekeeper was actually valued. The bus stopped near her apartment building, a modest complex in a working-class neighborhood. Inside her small studio apartment, she kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto her bed, still wearing the interview outfit she'd carefully selected that morning. She wouldn't be manipulated by guilt, even if part of her was oddly pleased by the message. There's a direct correlation between employee retention and guest happiness. She shadowed managers in every department, from maintenance to food service to front desk operations. Everywhere she heard the same thing. Big changes were coming from the top, all focused on improving conditions for employees. Mr. Ellis says he learned it from someone who showed him what real hospitality means. The manager smiled at her. Word is, you might have been that someone. Her phone rang. Mr. Ellis is rolling it out across all properties. Was it possible that their conversations had actually meant something to him? That he'd been listening, really listening, when she talked about her mother's struggles and her own dreams? For that lesson, I am deeply grateful. Better treatment of staff leads to better treatment of guests. It rang again and again. Finally, she answered. Hello? The Ellis Hotel Group was announcing major policy changes, including a significant wage increase for all positions and a new management training program that would prioritize promoting from within. Leah, please don't hang up. It was his voice. Today, we're changing that. The Ellis Hotel Group is implementing what they call the Ellis Method, a comprehensive approach to employee welfare that includes living wages, healthcare benefits, and educational opportunities for all staff members. How did you get my number? Your internship application. I already told you. I quit. I'm not calling as your boss, Dorian said. Leah laughed bitterly. You don't even know me. That's not true. I know you work harder than anyone. His words made her heart ache. I wasn't playing, he said quietly. Those conversations, those moments, they were real. That's a pretty big thing, Dorian. It felt strange saying his real name. I know, and I'm sorry. Part of her wanted to accept, to protect the opportunity she'd sacrificed so much for, but her pride wouldn't let her. Goodbye, Mr. Ellis. She hung up before he could respond. For the next week, Dorian threw himself into work, spending long days at the office reviewing every aspect of his business. But at night, alone in his penthouse apartment, all he could think about was Leah. On Friday afternoon, James found him staring out his office window at the Atlanta skyline. The board is concerned, James said without preamble. The board works for me, not the other way around, Dorian replied. Your father wouldn't have. I'm not my father. Dorian turned to face James. James sighed. Her name is Leah Bryant. And yes, partly. Dorian sat at his desk. Dorian, you can't change company policy because of one woman. I'm not. I'm changing it because it's the right thing to do. He picked up a folder. James raised an eyebrow. You've really done your research. I have. Starting next month, we're raising wages for all staff positions, improving benefits and creating clear paths for advancement. And what does Ms. Bryant think of all this? Dorian's expression darkened. She doesn't know. She won't talk to me. Ah. Understanding dawned on James's face. It's the right business decision, Dorian insisted. I've known you since you were in diapers, Dorian. Don't try to fool me. James smiled slightly. Dorian didn't deny it. I messed up. I lied to her. Then fix it. You're an Ellis. Ellis men don't give up when they make mistakes. They make amends. Leah sat in her apartment, surrounded by textbooks and notes. A knock at her door interrupted her studying, probably her neighbor asking to borrow something again. She opened the door to find her mother standing there with 2 grocery bags. Mom! Leah hugged her tightly. What are you doing here? You didn't tell me you were coming. Mother doesn't need an invitation, Teresa Bryant said, carrying her bags to the tiny kitchen area. As they unpacked groceries, Leah felt a wave of gratitude. Her mother had always been her rock. So, Teresa said, tell me about this man who's got you so twisted up. Leah nearly dropped the can she was holding. How did you... Baby girl, I raised you. I know heartbreak when I hear it. Teresa started preparing dinner. Now talk. Haltingly at first, then with growing emotion, Leah told her mother everything. Teresa listened without interrupting. When Leah finished, her mother was quiet for a long moment. You know, Teresa finally said, your father was a liar too. Leah looked up, startled. Her mother rarely mentioned her father. He told me he was just a bartender when we met. What did you do? I left him, told him I didn't need his money or his lies. Leah frowned. Are you saying I should forgive Dorian? I'm saying pride is expensive, baby, and it doesn't keep you warm at night. Teresa resumed cooking. What? Leah nearly choked. Dorian called you? No, someone named Patricia. Or by my forgiveness, Leah muttered. Maybe. Or maybe he actually cares. Teresa served their dinner. As they ate, Leah considered her mother's words. Monday morning, Leah stood outside the Ellis Peachtree Hotel, gathering her courage. She walked through the lobby, noticing the construction was progressing. At the employee check-in, she scanned her badge. It still worked. "Leah! I'm just here to finish my internship," she said firmly. "Nothing else." "Well, a lot's changed while you were gone. New policies coming down from corporate, better schedules, higher wages." Pete lowered his voice. Leah tried not to react. "I'm on day shift now, part of my program." Right. Well, your desk is over there. Patricia left a folder for you. Your new assignments." Leah found the folder at her station. Inside was a note on Ellis Hotel's letterhead. "Ms. Bryant, welcome back. Your new role involves shadowing different department heads to complete your training requirements. Please see the attached schedule. Should you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me directly. Patricia Reynolds, Executive Assistant to Dorian Ellis." At the bottom was a handwritten addition. "He hasn't been the same since you left." Leah folded the note and put it away. Her first assignment was with housekeeping management, appropriate given her background. The day passed quickly. The housekeeping director was impressed by Leah's practical knowledge and asked for her input on several processes. At the end of her shift, as she gathered her things to leave, her phone pinged with a message from an unknown number. "I heard you came back." Leah stared at the message, unsure how to respond or if she should respond at all. Finally, she typed, "I'm here to finish my internship. That's all." His reply came seconds later. "I understand." She put her phone away without answering. One day at a time, she told herself. Over the next 2 weeks, Leah immersed herself in her internship. One afternoon, while reviewing guest satisfaction data with the front desk manager, she noticed a pattern. "The scores are higher when staff have been with the hotel longer," she observed. "That's the foundation of the new Ellis method," said the manager. "The Ellis method," Leah repeated. "It's revolutionary for our industry. Higher wages, better benefits, clear advancement opportunities." Leah felt her cheeks grow warm. "I doubt that." Later that day, she found a company-wide memo in her inbox. At the bottom was a personal note. "These changes were inspired by someone who reminded me that true hospitality begins with valuing every person who works with us." Dorian Ellis. Leah read the message 3 times. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was her mother. "Have you seen the news?" Teresa asked without preamble. "What news?" "Turn on Channel 9, now." Leah found a television in the break room. A news anchor was standing outside Ellis Hotel's headquarters. "A major announcement today from one of Atlanta's largest employers." The camera cut to Dorian, looking polished and professional in a charcoal suit, addressing a crowd of reporters. "For too long, the hospitality industry has undervalued its most important asset, the people who create the actual experience for our guests," he was saying. A reporter called out, "What prompted this change, Mr. Ellis?" Dorian paused, and for a moment Leah thought she saw the Marcus she had known in his expression. "I recently had the opportunity to work alongside our night staff," he said. "I witnessed firsthand their dedication, their challenges, and their incredible work ethic." He didn't name her, but the message was clear. One employee in particular showed me that true hospitality is not about luxury amenities. It's about making people feel valued. That lesson changed everything for me. Leah's heart pounded as she watched. "Is this just a publicity stunt to recover from the recent financial scandal?" another reporter asked. "It's sound business," Dorian replied confidently. "Our data shows that properties with better treated employees have higher guest satisfaction and better profitability. But more importantly, it's the right thing to do." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Seems like your hotel owner might be more than just a rich man playing games." The broadcast cut back to the studio, and Leah turned away from the TV. Her phone was still connected to her mother. "That's about you, isn't it?" Teresa asked. "I think so," Leah admitted. "Question is, was it a lie meant to hurt you or a mistake made by someone trying to find their way?" The hotel was quiet, most of the day staff gone, the night shift just beginning. As she walked through the lobby, she noticed someone by the front windows looking out at the city lights. "Ellis?" she called across the lobby. "Maybe," Leah conceded, "but it doesn't change the fact that he lied to me." "No, it doesn't," Teresa agreed. If Dorian was really implementing these changes that would help people like her mother, could she continue to shut him out? He asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. After hanging up, Leah sat alone in the break room, her emotions in turmoil. That evening, Leah stayed late to finish a project. I did it because you were right. About everything. Dorian. His eyes held hers. I saw how someone like you, someone with every reason to be bitter about the system, still found ways to be kind, to care. I saw what this business should be about. He hadn't seen her yet. He was dressed casually in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, looking more like Marcus than the CEO she'd seen on television earlier. Her first instinct was to leave unnoticed, but something held her in place. I was surrounded by yes-men who told me what I wanted to hear. He shook his head. I wanted to see the truth for myself. Are you checking up on your investment, mister? He turned, surprise and hope flashing across his face. Leah. I saw you on the news today, she said, walking closer. The Ellis method. Leah knew she was at a crossroads. She could walk away, protect her pride, keep her walls up, or she could take a risk. What did you think? If I could do it over, I'd tell you the truth from the beginning. If we're going to explore whatever this is between us, we start over, as equals. No more secrets. But then you might never have shown me who you really are, and I might never have discovered who I want to be. Leah Bryant, I hear you own this place. Hello, I'm Dorian Ellis, it's nice to meet you. But I'm still learning how to run it properly. Maybe you could help me with that. I think it will help a lot of people like my mom. That was the goal. He hesitated. But I didn't do it to impress you or win your forgiveness. They stood in awkward silence for a moment, the vastness of the lobby making the space between them seem even greater. She called, her voice sharp and commanding. I've been looking everywhere for you. Why did you really do it? Leah finally asked. The undercover thing. A striking woman in designer clothing strode into the lobby, her high heels clicking on the marble floor. Leah, this is Vanessa Cartwright, my fiancée. Dorian looked relieved at the chance to explain. After the scandal, I realized I had no idea what was really happening in my hotels. And did you? See the truth? I saw more than I expected. Ellis. Leah wanted to stay angry, but his sincerity was chipping away at her defenses. You still lied. The elevator doors closed behind her, and she leaned against the wall, eyes squeezed shut. I did. And I'm sorry. He took a step closer. And who is that? She asked softly. But this time, as tears threatened to fall, Leah squared her shoulders. She wouldn't run away. She would finish her internship, earn her degree, and build her future. He turned to Vanessa, removing her hand from his arm. They're worried about the company's image after your little socialist makeover. She glanced around the lobby with a critical eye. First you play janitor, then you start throwing money at the cleaning staff. People are talking. Your board called me. They're concerned about your recent decisions, he demanded. And what's this nonsense about us reconciling? Your board is considering a vote of no confidence if you continue with these changes. She stepped closer. Work with me on this, Dorian. A few public appearances together, some strategic photos. We announce we're taking time to reconnect. A public relations crisis would only make things harder. It settles the board, calms the investors, and gives you room to make your changes more gradually. The Ellis name means something in this city. Our families have been planning our marriage, since we were children. She moved closer, possessively placing a manicured hand on his arm. We need to talk. Someone worthy of your respect. His voice dropped. Someone who sees people, really sees them. The board won't accept her as a suitable partner for the Ellis heir, not with her background. You want to help people like her, don't you? Change the industry? You need your position and power for that. Sometimes we make personal sacrifices for the greater good. Vanessa nodded toward the elevator. That little intern. Their relationship had been arranged, convenient, expected, but they'd grown up in the same world. She knew how the game was played. Please, Dorian. That's all I ask. Once again, he was choosing his hotel empire over being honest with her. But this time, he told himself, it was for her own protection. Now, shall we have dinner? The press will be expecting us at Marcel's. Be realistic. At least until you've secured your changes. Hotel heiresses can handle society's judgment. Scholarship students with housekeeping mothers, they get crushed. The air between them felt charged with possibility. Even if Vanessa wasn't currently his fiancée, the woman's presence revealed yet another part of Dorian's life he'd kept hidden. She'd spent hours replaying the scene in the lobby. The hope she'd felt when Dorian took her hand, the crushing revelation about Vanessa. Would pursuing Leah now only hurt her, drag her into a spotlight she never asked for? His voice was cold. Leah has more integrity and talent than anyone I've met in our social circle. Vanessa and I have been over for months. Please let me explain. I have conditions, she said finally, and there is no us to reconcile. We've been over for months. Later, alone in the break room, she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter and a newspaper clipping. A photo showed Dorian and Vanessa leaving an upscale restaurant with the caption, "Ellis Hotel's CEO Dorian Ellis reconnects with longtime friend Vanessa Cartwright amid company restructuring." She had 2 weeks left to complete her hours, 2 weeks to focus solely on her future career, not on Dorian Ellis or his complicated life. Hope bloomed in his eyes. Name them. She was presenting her findings to the front desk manager when Patricia, Dorian's assistant, appeared. "First, my scholarship stays exactly as it was offered, no special treatment. The board thinks, and I agree, that announcing our reconciliation would help offset the negative press from your little workers' rights crusade." Vanessa suggested that presenting a united front temporarily would ease their concerns and give me room to implement the reforms that matter. "What you saw last night was business strategy, not personal truth." He nodded. "Done. Second, I finish my internship based solely on my performance, not our history." "Absolutely," he agreed. "And third?" She took a deep breath. Her final presentation for the internship program was scheduled for next week. The presentation she'd never delivered the day she discovered Dorian's identity. Every time she started to trust him, something new appeared to test that trust, and to tell you he understands if you don't want to speak with him right now. She would pour everything into that presentation, all her knowledge, all her passion for hospitality. She would show everyone, including Dorian, exactly who Leah Bryant was and what she could accomplish on her own merits. A smile spread across Dorian's face, reminding her of the Marcus she'd grown to care for. "I'd like that." They're restructuring. The bitterness in her voice was palpable. "I've got an interview at the Holiday Inn tomorrow, but they're offering $3 less an hour. I don't know how I'll make rent next month. 23 years of service, and I get 2 weeks severance." He extended his hand. According to the office gossip, he was traveling to other Ellis properties to implement the new policies. But the Atlanta papers carried occasional photos of him with Vanessa at charity events or business dinners, always described as reconnecting or longtime friends. Their restructuring left her with minimal severance and few options. Despite herself, Leah smiled too, taking his hand. Her mother's situation was exactly what the Ellis method was designed to prevent. Loyal employees discarded after decades of service, treated as disposable. Here's a chance to put those words into action beyond your own properties. "I do," he said, not letting go of her hand. "And if not, well, at least she'd have her dignity intact." Their eyes locked, and for a moment all the hurt and deception of the past few weeks faded away, replaced by the simple connection they'd first discovered over late-night cleaning shifts and shared meals. Whatever happened between her and Dorian personally, she wouldn't shy away from using his influence to help her mother if possible. "Maybe I could," she replied softly. As they stood together in the quiet lobby, hands still joined, the night stretched out before them, full of possibility, honesty, and perhaps a second chance. The West Side Grand's practices are exactly what we're trying to change industry-wide. The late nights sharing vending machine snacks, talking about their dreams. She couldn't deny it, even as she tried to focus only on her career. "Full benefits, recognition of my experience, even a signing bonus." She paused. "You had something to do with this, didn't you?" I've asked HR to contact your mother immediately about a position at our downtown location with seniority and salary recognition for her years of service. But just as Dorian began to speak again, the automatic doors slid open. Baby, that man must care about you a lot to move this fast. Dorian, darling. Leah felt Dorian tense beside her, his hand slipping from hers. Vanessa, he said, his voice suddenly formal. What are you doing here? The woman glanced at Leah with barely concealed disdain before turning her full attention to Dorian. Who is this? Leah asked quietly, already dreading the answer. Dorian looked pained as he made the introduction. The world seemed to tilt beneath Leah's feet. Fiancé? Ex-fiancé, Dorian corrected quickly. We broke up months ago. A temporary setback, Vanessa said with a cold smile. Leah took a step back, feeling like a fool all over again. I should go. Leah, wait. Dorian reached for her, but Vanessa kept her grip on his arm. It's not what you think. It never is with you, is it? Leah said, hurt and anger rushing back. Goodbye, mister. As she walked away, she heard Dorian call her name, but she didn't turn around. Just when she'd started to believe in him again, just when her heart had begun to soften, another lie was revealed. Would it ever end? The elevator descended, taking her away from Dorian and the woman who called herself his fiancée, with or without Dorian Ellis. Contrôleurs du chat, Sonnet 3.7. Dorian watched helplessly as the elevator doors closed, taking Leah away from him just when they'd started to reconnect. What are you doing here? Vanessa's perfect smile didn't waver. Your board called me, darling. I don't care what people are talking about, Dorian said firmly. Officially, yes. But you know how these things work. Vanessa lowered her voice. Plans change. Because of her? Don't talk about her like that. Vanessa's smile hardened. Well, she's gone now, and you have bigger problems. They can't remove me. I'm the majority shareholder. No, but they can make things very difficult. Dorian hesitated. As much as he hated to admit it, Vanessa had a point about the board. They were already pushing back on his reforms. No romantic implications, he said firmly. Just colleagues with a long history, and it's temporary. Of course, Vanessa agreed smoothly. Now, about that girl. Leah is not part of this discussion. She is if you're serious about her, Vanessa said with surprising directness. I don't need their acceptance. Don't you? Vanessa raised an eyebrow. Dorian stared at her, realizing for the first time that Vanessa understood him better than he'd thought. I need to talk to Leah, he said finally. Explain this. If you really care about her, maybe you should let her go, Vanessa suggested softly. The truth in her words hit Dorian like a physical blow. I'll think about it, he said, already hating himself for considering it. Vanessa smiled triumphantly. As Dorian reluctantly followed her out of the hotel, he glanced back at the elevator where Leah had disappeared. He wondered if she would ever believe that. Leah woke early the next morning, her eyes puffy from a night of restless sleep. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Dorian and 1 text message. It's not what you think. She put the phone down without responding. What was there to say? With determined movements, Leah got ready for her internship. At the hotel, she threw herself into her assignments with renewed focus. Her supervisor noticed her intensity. Everything okay, Leah? You seem extra motivated today. Extra motivated? Just trying to make the most of my time here, she replied, keeping her voice professional. By lunchtime, she'd completed a detailed analysis of the hotel's check-in procedures and identified 3 ways to improve efficiency. Ms. Bryant, could I speak with you a moment? Leah reluctantly followed Patricia to a quiet corner. Mr. Ellis asked me to give you this, Patricia said, handing her an envelope. Leah took the envelope without comment. The clipping was from that morning's Atlanta Business Chronicle. The letter read, Leah, I know how this looks, and I know my credibility with you is already damaged beyond repair, but I'm asking you to understand something important. Vanessa and I were engaged once, an arrangement of family expectations rather than love. We ended it months ago. The board is resisting the changes I'm making. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know that last night, When we stood together in the lobby, everything I said was real. I understand if you need space. Just know that my door is always open when and if you're ready to talk. Yours, Dorian. Leah read the letter twice, her emotions churning. Could she believe him? Should she? Her phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. With sudden clarity, Leah realized what she needed to do. If her connection with Dorian was real, it would still be there after she'd proven herself. For the next several days, Leah saw no sign of Dorian at the hotel. Leah tried not to care. She focused instead on her presentation, developing a comprehensive proposal for improving guest loyalty through personalized service initiatives. On Wednesday afternoon, she was reviewing her slides in the business center when her phone rang. It was her mother. "I need your help, baby," Teresa said, her voice tight with stress. "I just got laid off." "What?" Leah nearly dropped her phone. "Why?" "New management at the West Side Grand." "That's not right," Leah said, anger rising. "There are laws. Not for people like us, there aren't." "Not really." Teresa sighed. "I'll help," Leah promised, mentally calculating her meager savings. "We'll figure it out." After hanging up, Leah sat staring at her presentation on the computer screen. Without thinking too hard about what she was doing, Leah pulled up her email and composed a message to Dorian. "Mr. Ellis, while I appreciate your letter, I'm writing about a professional matter, not a personal one. My mother, Teresa Bryant, was just laid off after 23 years as a housekeeper at the West Side Grand Hotel. You said you wanted to change the industry. Respectfully, Leah Bryant." She hit send before she could reconsider, then returned to her presentation. The reply came less than 20 minutes later. "Leah, thank you for bringing this to my attention. This isn't a favor. It's the right business decision to hire someone with her experience." Dorian A. postscript followed. "P.S. I miss our conversations." Leah read the email twice. She was grateful for the help for her mother, but the personal note at the end left her unsettled. Did she miss their conversations too? The next morning, Teresa called, her voice breathless with excitement. "You won't believe what happened. Ellis Hotels just offered me a position." "I mentioned your situation to someone there," Leah admitted. "To Dorian Ellis, the man himself?" Teresa's voice grew knowing. "It's complicated, Mom. Love always is." Teresa's voice softened. "But actions speak louder than words, and this man's actions are saying something pretty clear." After hanging up, Leah stood by the window of her apartment, watching rain fall on the city. Her mother was right. Dorian's actions did speak volumes. The Ellis method, the scholarship program, the job for her mother, all concrete changes that went beyond mere words. A world Leah had never belonged to and wasn't sure she wanted to enter. But then there was Vanessa, the board, the society pages with their photos and speculation. Her phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. Why did he have to be so considerate, even while his picture was in the society pages with another woman? "Your mother starts Monday. I didn't tell her you contacted me. That's your choice." D. It's brilliant. The personalized loyalty initiative could transform our approach. Leah stared at the message, feeling a complicated mix of gratitude and frustration. Against her better judgment, she texted back, "Thank you." She's excited. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again before his reply came through. "I saw your presentation outline. And the situation with Vanessa isn't what you think. It's strategy, not romance. But I understand why you wouldn't believe that." Leah felt a surge of professional pride, followed quickly by confusion. "How did you see my outline?" 6 people sat around the table. Department heads, the internship coordinator, and James, Dorian's financial advisor. No sign of Dorian himself, true to his word. "I hope my work speaks for itself, sir. I'm still CEO. I understand you've developed quite a reputation during your internship. A business traveler has different needs than a family on vacation, and our systems should recognize that automatically." Her proposal, titled "The Personal Touch: Rebuilding Guest Loyalty Through Individualized Care," outlined a system for tracking guest preferences across hotel stays without being intrusive. Final intern presentations come across my desk, even though I won't be attending. "I can see why Dorian speaks so highly of you." The unspoken message was clear. He was keeping his promise to give her space, to let her succeed on her own merits. Despite everything, that meant something to her. She illustrated her points with real examples from her time working the front desk, showing how small personalized touches created lasting loyalty. Then James began to applaud, the others quickly joining in. "Will Vanessa be attending in your place?" she typed, then immediately regretted the petty tone. The reply took longer this time. No. And before you ask, this comes from the entire executive team. Dorian recused himself from the decision to avoid any appearance of favoritism. "I've known that boy since he was born. Never seen him as shaken as when you walked out of that presentation room weeks ago." Leah put her phone down without responding. She had a presentation to prepare for, and allowing Dorian Ellis to occupy her thoughts wouldn't help. "We'd like to offer you a position after graduation." James stood. "The job offer stands regardless of anything personal between you and Dorian. Take some time to think about it. Growing up with his kind of privilege doesn't teach you how real people live, but he's trying to do better." James leaned forward. "And this business with Vanessa? It's just that, business. A temporary measure to settle the board while he implements changes that really matter. Management track, with the opportunity to implement your loyalty program." She dressed carefully in her best business suit, a navy blue ensemble she'd saved for months to purchase. "I'd like to discuss something with you privately." Her mother had helped her practice her presentation the night before, playing the role of skeptical executives. The day of Leah's final presentation arrived with bright sunshine streaming through her apartment windows. But could she work for Ellis Hotels, seeing Dorian regularly, especially while he was publicly linked to Vanessa? Teresa looked shocked. "It's perfect for you." Teresa was glowing with pride, already wearing her new Ellis Hotels uniform for her orientation the next day. At the hotel, she was directed to the main conference room. "Ms. Bryant," James greeted her, "we're looking forward to your presentation." Leah set up her materials with steady hands. "Indeed. Please begin when you're ready." Taking a deep breath, Leah launched into her presentation. "Who, according to you, is just for show while he makes these big changes at the company? Changes that got me a job with better pay and benefits than I've ever had." She gave her daughter a knowing look. "Sounds to me like a man trying to do the right thing, even when it's hard." "The key insight," she explained, moving through her slides, "is that guests don't want to be treated equally. They want to be treated individually. Wouldn't let him be part of our lives." Teresa's eyes grew distant. "He tried for years to reconnect, to help us. I turned him away every time. I never told you because I was ashamed. Not of him, of me, of how stubborn I was." As she spoke, she grew more confident. This was her element. The perfect blend of hospitality warmth and business efficiency. When she finished, there was a moment of silence. Had she been too quick to judge? Too unwilling to understand the complexities of his position? "Remarkable work, Ms. Bryant," he said. The passenger window rolled down to reveal Dorian behind the wheel. Before Leah could protest, her mother gave her a gentle push toward the car. "Don't be like me, baby. At least hear him out." "But I know what it's like to let pride stand in the way of happiness." Leah sat stiffly. "And thank you for helping my mother." He turned to face her directly. "Leah, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I need to explain about Vanessa." The interior smelled of leather and Dorian's subtle cologne. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "I wanted to congratulate you in person. Letting pride keep you from someone who might be worth forgiving. James said your presentation was the best he's seen in years." He hesitated. "I haven't been sleeping. Every time I see you in the hallway and can't talk to you, it's killing me, Leah." Teresa's eyes were gentle but firm. "Just talk to him, Leah. Really talk. Then decide." "I'm still processing everything. My mother just told me something tonight that changes how I see all of this. Your father wasn't just a club owner. He was Richard Bryant, from the shipping Bryants. He hid his background when he met my mother, and when she found out, she shut him out completely. And she's worried you're making the same mistake with me? I don't know what to do, Dorian. I want to believe you. I want to believe in what we felt when you were Marcus, but your world is so different from mine." Leah shook her head. She never gave him a chance to explain or be part of my life. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that reminded her painfully of Marcus. The board threatened to block all the Ellis method changes if I didn't project stability. Vanessa suggested a temporary public reconciliation, strictly for show, to calm them down. The internship coordinator beamed. This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking the Ellis method aims to foster. You've earned the highest marks in your cohort. Pride swelled in Leah's chest. She'd done it, proven her worth based solely on her ideas and hard work. As the meeting concluded, James approached her. "Do you have a moment, Ms. Bryant?" They walked together to a small meeting room nearby. "I'll be direct," James said once they were seated. 3 weeks, she said softly. "In 3 weeks, when your board meeting is over and the changes are secure, we talk again. Really talk. About everything. Ellis? But it's buying me the time I need to make the reforms permanent before the board can interfere." Leah tried to keep her expression professional despite her excitement. "That's very generous. Whatever this is between us, that I'll be judged on my work alone." They saw each other occasionally in meetings or hallways, exchanging polite greetings but nothing more. 1 week remained until the board meeting that would determine whether the Ellis method reforms would become permanent. If others noticed the underlying tension between them, no one mentioned it. There's an urgent situation that requires your attention. She'd graduated from her program with honors and started immediately as an associate manager, focusing on implementing her guest loyalty initiative. The work was challenging and rewarding, and she found herself thriving in the position. "There's only one woman I care about, Leah." For the first time in weeks, Leah allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, there could be a future for them after all. The one who showed me what real hospitality means when she thought I was just a night cleaner, named Marcus. "It's not generosity, it's good business." James studied her face. "I appreciate that," Leah said sincerely. "The board unanimously approved it after seeing the preliminary results from our test properties. Guest satisfaction up, employee turnover down, profitability stable." He moved closer. "Vanessa and I made our last public appearance last night. The reconciliation is officially over. He cares about you, you know." James's tone grew more personal. Leah shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Walker, I don't think—" He gestured to the dinner setup, "starting with having dinner with the woman I haven't stopped thinking about for a single day. Just listen, please. Dorian isn't perfect. But if it makes you uncomfortable, say the word and I'll back off. Your career and comfort come first." And he'd gone to great lengths to ensure her job was secure, regardless of their personal relationship. "Why are you telling me this?" Leah asked. "Because I care about that boy, and because the Ellis Hotels needs people like you, people who understand what hospitality really means." The room was dim, lit only by the city lights through the windows and a few candles on the table. "Would you trust me enough to take a drive tomorrow? No pressure, just something I think you should see." 2 place settings and covered dishes suggested a dinner rather than a meeting. Dorian told her about the board meeting, how he'd presented the data that proved treating employees better actually improved the business. They drove north out of Atlanta, the city gradually giving way to rolling countryside. Leah shared her progress implementing her loyalty program and the positive feedback it was already receiving. After James left, Leah sat alone, turning over everything in her mind. The job offer was a dream come true professionally. The building was clearly old but well maintained, with a wide front porch and elegant white columns. A discreet sign read, "The Oakwood Inn." Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How did it go, baby?" Leah typed back. "They loved it and offered me a job after graduation." Teresa's reply came instantly. "I knew they would. So proud of you. Dinner tonight to celebrate?" Every room was unique but comfortable, designed to make guests feel at home rather than impressed. "This is Leah Bryant, the person I told you about." A few guests sat reading or chatting quietly. An older woman approached them with a welcoming smile. "Yes, definitely. And Mom, thank you for everything." "Oh my, it's wonderful to meet you, dear. He's told me so much about your ideas." That evening, Leah and Teresa celebrated at a small Italian restaurant near Leah's apartment. "To my brilliant daughter," Teresa said, raising her glass. Future hotel executive. Leah clinked glasses with her mother. I haven't accepted the offer yet. Why on earth not? You know why? Leah sighed. Dorian. Ah. Teresa nodded. The handsome boss who isn't really your boss yet because you haven't taken the job. It's complicated. You keep saying that. Teresa set down her glass. Let me ask you something. Does this man make you happy? When he was Marcus, yes, Leah admitted, when we were equals. And now that you know he's Dorian Ellis, now I don't know what to think. He says one thing, then appears in the paper with his society girlfriend. Ex-fiancée, Teresa corrected. Since when are you on his side? Leah asked, surprised. I'm on your side, baby. Always. Teresa reached across the table to take Leah's hand. Leah stared at her mother in shock. What? Old money, big name in Savannah. When I found out he'd lied about who he was, I was so angry I wouldn't let him explain. I never knew, Leah whispered. He died 10 years ago. Left you money for college in his will. Teresa squeezed her daughter's hand. Leah sat back, processing this revelation. Why tell me now? Because I see you making the same mistake I did. As they finished dinner, Leah's mind was spinning with her mother's story and its parallels to her own situation with Dorian. Outside the restaurant, as they waited for Teresa's bus, Leah spotted a familiar black car pulling up to the curb. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said, looking uncertain. James told me about your presentation. Teresa nudged her daughter forward. I'll take the next bus. You two talk. Reluctantly, Leah got into the passenger seat. Congratulations, he said, not starting the car. Thank you. She deserves the job. Her experience is invaluable. You don't owe me an explanation, she said, though part of her desperately wanted to hear it. I do because it affects you. So you're pretending to date your ex for the sake of business? Leah couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. For the sake of the changes that will help thousands of workers like your mother, he corrected. It's not ideal. It's not what I want. Leah studied his face, looking for signs of deception, but finding only exhaustion and sincerity. How long is temporary? The quarterly board meeting is in 3 weeks. By then, most of the major policy changes will be implemented. Despite herself, Leah felt her resolve weakening. Oh? He looked curious. My father was Richard Bryant, apparently from a wealthy Savannah family. Understanding dawned on Dorian's face. Something like that. Leah looked out the window. It doesn't have to be, he said quietly. We can build our own world. The simple sincerity in his voice made her heart ache. She turned back to him. I was offered the job today. I know. He smiled slightly. The offer was approved before all of this happened between us. It's yours regardless of anything else. If I take it, what happens after your 3 weeks with Vanessa are over? Hope flickered in his eyes. That depends on you, on what you want. Leah took a deep breath. I want honesty. Complete honesty from now on. You have it, he promised. No more secrets. And I need to know that the job is separate from... Absolutely. I can have it written into your contract if you want. She almost smiled at that. And Vanessa? Is nothing to me beyond a business arrangement that ends in 3 weeks. His eyes held hers steadily. The sincerity in his voice broke through the last of her defenses. Relief washed over his face. I'd like that. Until then, I'll take the job offer. But we keep things professional. She held out her hand formally. Deal, mister. He took her hand, but instead of shaking it, he lifted it to his lips in a gentle kiss. Deal, Miss Bryant. The simple gesture sent warmth spreading through her. 2 weeks later, Leah was settling into her new role at Ellis Hotels. True to his word, Dorian maintained a professional distance. The papers still carried occasional photos of Dorian and Vanessa at events, but Leah forced herself not to dwell on them. On Friday afternoon, Leah was reviewing data in her office when Patricia appeared at her door. Miss Bryant, could you come with me, please? Concerned, Leah followed Patricia to the elevator. To her surprise, they went up to the executive floor rather than down to the hotel operations levels. What's the problem? Leah asked as they walked down the hallway. Mr. Ellis can explain better than I can, Patricia replied, stopping outside the door to the executive conference room. When Leah entered, she found not an emergency, but Dorian standing alone beside the conference table. What is this? Leah asked, confused. I couldn't wait any longer, Dorian said simply. The board meeting was moved up. It happened this morning. And? The Ellis method is officially company policy, permanently. All the reforms, the wage increases, the training programs, everything is secure. His eyes were bright with triumph. That's wonderful, Leah said sincerely. Congratulations. There's more. Leah's heart beat faster. So I'm free, to be honest about what I really want. Despite her resolve to proceed cautiously, Leah felt a smile spreading across her face. Is this appropriate, Mr. Ellis? Dining with an employee? Technically, you report to the hospitality director, not to me. There's no direct supervisory relationship. His expression grew more serious. Leah considered this. He was right. Her position didn't report to him directly. I think dinner would be nice, she said finally. Relief and joy transformed his face. I was hoping you'd say that. He pulled out a chair for her. As they ate, they talked easily, the way they had during their late-night break room conversations. You know, Dorian said as they finished dessert, there's something I've been wanting to show you. Something important. Oh? Leah raised an eyebrow. It's not here. It's about an hour outside the city. Curiosity piqued, Leah nodded. Okay, tomorrow. The next morning, Dorian picked Leah up in a simple SUV rather than his usual luxury car. Where are we going? Leah asked as they turned onto a winding road. You'll see, Dorian replied with a mysterious smile. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a charming two-story structure nestled among tall oak trees. What is this place? Leah asked as they got out of the car. Come inside, Dorian said, taking her hand. The interior was warm and inviting, with hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, and a large stone fireplace in the main sitting room. Mr. Ellis, so good to see you again, she greeted him. Thank you, Mrs. Harmon. Mrs. Harmon's smile widened. As they toured the inn, Leah was struck by the attention to detail. This place is amazing, she said, as they walked through the garden behind the main building. It's exactly the kind of place I've always dreamed of running. I know, Dorian said quietly. That's why I bought it. Leah stopped walking. You bought this inn? When? He looked almost shy. You told me about your dream of owning a small inn where people feel cared for. I couldn't stop thinking about it. 3 weeks ago, right after our conversation in the lobby before Vanessa showed up, Dorian took both her hands in his. Mrs. Harmon has owned this place for 30 years, but she's ready to retire. She was going to sell to a developer who wanted to tear it down and build vacation homes. He squeezed her hands gently. Leah, I'm not giving this to you. That would be presumptuous and probably offensive, but I am holding it in trust until you're ready. But why would you buy it? Leah was struggling to understand. Because I believe in your dream. That would have been a tragedy, Leah said, looking back at the beautiful old building. I agree, so I made her a better offer, with a condition that the inn would always remain an inn. Ready, she repeated, still processing everything. When you were Marcus, you asked me once why I wanted to open my own place instead of working for a big chain. That you wanted to create a place where everyone who walked through the door felt like they mattered. Do you remember what I said? She smiled, touched that he remembered her exact words. Dorian Ellis, the real Dorian, not the polished CEO or the undercover cleaner, was someone who listened, who learned, who tried to do better. The Ellis method is bringing that philosophy to your hotels. But this place, she looked back at the inn, this is where that feeling truly lives. Mrs. Harmon will continue managing it for now, for moving forward together. She held up one finger. First, complete honesty. Always, no matter how uncomfortable. But the belief in her dream, the patience to let her grow into it in her own time. But whenever you feel ready, whether that's in 1 year or 5, the opportunity to run this place will be waiting for you. His eyes were earnest. No strings attached. Even if, Even if things don't work out between us personally, this promise stands. I want us to volunteer one night a month at a homeless shelter or food bank, together, to stay grounded in what really matters. Friends, classmates, and co-workers all sending the same link. With growing dread, she opened it to find a tabloid headline splashed across her screen. "I'd be honored to do that with you." She thought they were working things out, says friend. Dorian led her to a bench overlooking a small pond. It was Dorian. "I just wanted you to see it, to know that I was listening, really listening when you shared your dreams with me. There would be challenges ahead, cultural differences to navigate, society gossip to ignore, careers to balance. The board is calling an emergency session. Vanessa's father is our biggest investor, and he's threatening to pull out over the public humiliation of his daughter." Dorian sounded worried. "But whatever happens, we'll face it together, if you still want to." But for the first time, she truly believed they could face those challenges together. "I had no idea we were being followed. This is exactly what I wanted to protect you from." Leah felt overwhelmed. It was the most thoughtful, most perfect gift anyone had ever offered her, not the inn itself. "But we're more alike than you realize, Leah. We're both women who understand what it means to fight for what we want." Was she ready for this? For a life where her every move might be scrutinized, where her background and relationship would be gossip fodder? Slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, Dorian leaned forward. Vanessa paused. "My father is furious about the photos. He's threatening to pull his investment from Ellis Hotels unless Dorian ends his relationship with you." For all the changes, their lips met in a gentle kiss that held both promise and certainty. Vanessa's voice softened unexpectedly. $2 million. Enough to buy that inn you dream about. Start your own business. Create the life you want. Without the scandal, without the judgment, without being labeled the girl who seduced the boss. Vanessa sighed. "Think about it, Leah. Do you really want to be followed by photographers every time you go out? Have people whisper about your mother? Dig into your past? The novelty will wear off for Dorian eventually, but the damage to your reputation will be permanent. $2 million, financial independence, the chance to build her dream on her own terms without being seen as the employee who slept her way to the top." "I'm here." The tabloid headline glared back at her from the screen. "Millionaire's secret affair with employee exposed." Beneath it, the photo of their private moment at the inn felt like an invasion. One minute you're living your life, the next you're caught in someone else's storm. Teresa paused. What does Dorian say? But it was her earlier call with Vanessa that truly left her shaken. She offered me money to walk away, a lot of money. He has a good heart, but he lives in a world with different rules. People like us always do what's expected of us in the end. Millionaire's secret affair with employee exposed. Part of me thinks I should take it, start fresh somewhere else, open my own place, avoid all this drama, and I'm not going anywhere. Yes, to seeing where this goes. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Leah's voice softened. The other part remembers how it felt when he looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Teresa's voice grew firm. But I raised you to make decisions based on your own heart, not other people's fears. And I raised you to finish what you start. How he listened when I talked about my dreams. How he actually changed when he saw the world through different eyes. Then she picked up her phone and made 2 calls, the first to Vanessa, the second to Dorian. You don't have to say anything right now. 10 board members sat around the large mahogany table, their faces uniformly grave. A friendly relationship between former partners, nothing more. At the far end sat Hamilton Cartwright, Vanessa's father, his expression thunderous. I'm withdrawing my investment unless this situation is resolved appropriately. Perhaps we should focus on the business implications rather than personal matters. It was temporary, for business purposes only. Dorian kept his voice calm. I never promised a reconciliation. Cartwright? Dorian asked coolly. They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, watching ripples on the water. Return to the business model that made Ellis Hotels successful in the first place. Hamilton's demands came rapid fire. This socialist experiment of yours is damaging shareholder value. Dorian, Leah finally said, turning to face him, But what happens in this room affects me too, and I believe I should have a voice in it. You publicly humiliated my daughter while pretending to reconcile with her. It's beyond concern, Dorian. It's betrayal. I'm here with a proposition. Leah turned to address the entire board. I understand you're concerned about the company's image and Mr. Cartwright's investment. I want to offer a solution. Every eye turned to her, but she focused solely on Dorian. He nodded. You said big hotels sell luxury, but small inns sell belonging. The Ellis method isn't just a business strategy. It's a recognition of human dignity. She offered me what she thought I wanted most, financial independence. But what I actually want is to be part of something meaningful, to help change an industry for the better. It acknowledges that every person who works in these hotels contributes to its success and deserves to share in it. Yes. I felt it the moment I walked in, Dorian agreed. It reminded me of you. Leah's heart swelled with emotion. After weeks of doubt and confusion, she finally saw the truth clearly. It's not just good ethics, it's good business. These are the preliminary results from the Ellis method implementation. Guest satisfaction up 18%, employee turnover down 47%, overall profitability increased by 3% in just the first month. Bryant, asked an older board member, and I think your daughter would respect that quality. She certainly demonstrated it herself this morning. Leah, you don't have to do this. She withdrew her offer and told me something interesting. She said, we may be rivals, but we don't have to be enemies. Sometimes the strongest business position is standing your ground. If the financial results don't speak for themselves by then, I'll resign from my position and remove myself from Dorian's life. 1 year to prove the Ellis method's value. She straightened her shoulders. And I'll do it without taking a penny from anyone. Someone worth taking a chance on. Leah, no. You don't need to make that promise. This morning, I received an offer from Vanessa Cartwright. Putting your career, your future on the line. You're either very confident or very foolish, young woman. After everything that's happened, you still trust me that much? I've never walked away from a promising investment, he said finally. 1 year, but I want quarterly reviews and full transparency. The man who listened to my dreams and took them seriously. But we deserve a chance to find out where this goes. Without interference, without money changing hands, without ultimatums. The man who's trying to change an entire industry because he saw how it could be better. Better to stand your ground and deal with what's in front of you. The photographers, all the things Vanessa warned you about? $2 million to walk away from Dorian and Ellis hotels. Leah threw herself into implementing her guest loyalty program across all Ellis hotel properties, traveling frequently to train staff on the new approach. Dorian focused on solidifying the Ellis method reforms, working closely with James and the board to document the business benefits. She says it's time she got to know the real Dorian Ellis. 3 conditions, she said suddenly. Dorian's support never wavered, and gradually the media circus moved on to fresher scandals. Dorian looked at her questioningly. 4? Vanessa Cartwright spotted with Italian count after Ellis breakup, announced another. This is a private board meeting, not a forum for staff grievances. For us? Agreed, he said without hesitation. 2nd, my career progresses based on merit alone, no special treatment. A second finger joined the first. Absolutely. In fact, I'll have James oversee your advancement to avoid any conflicts. And 3rd, she took a deep breath. Dorian's expression softened. Then yes, Leah said, a weight lifting from her heart. Yes to dinner. Yes to getting to know the real Dorian Ellis. The joy that spread across his face was worth all the weeks of uncertainty. As they drove back to Atlanta that afternoon, the future stretching out before them, Leah felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in weeks. Neither of them noticed the black sedan that had followed them from the inn, or the camera with a telephoto lens pointed at them from its passenger window. The next morning, Leah's phone exploded with notifications. Ellis Air's secret affair with employee exposed. Beneath it was a photo of her and Dorian kissing at the Oakwood Inn, alongside another photo of Vanessa Cartwright looking devastated outside her family's mansion. The caption read, "Sources close to the Cartwright family say Vanessa is heartbroken by the betrayal." Before Leah could process the implications, her phone rang. "Leah, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice tight with anger. "It's okay," she said, though her stomach was churning. "We knew it wouldn't be easy." "It's about to get harder," he warned. "What does that mean for the Ellis method?" "I don't know yet." Leah stared at the tabloid photo, at her private moment exposed for public consumption. "Leah?" Dorian's voice was anxious. "Are you still there?" She took a deep breath, making her decision. What she didn't tell him was the other call she'd received that morning from Vanessa Cartwright herself, with an offer Leah never expected and wasn't sure she could refuse. Leah stared at her phone long after ending the call with Dorian. "I know you think I'm the villain in this story," Vanessa had said, her voice cool and collected. "What do you want?" Leah had asked warily. "The same thing you do, security, respect, a future." Leah's stomach had clenched. "And you're calling to gloat?" "I'm calling to offer you a way out." "I didn't seduce anyone," Leah had protested. "It doesn't matter what really happened. The public sees what it wants to see." "You don't know Dorian," Leah had argued, though a seed of doubt had planted itself in her mind. "I've known him since we were children." Vanessa's voice had turned sad. Now, sitting alone in her apartment, Leah struggled with Vanessa's words. But it would mean walking away from Dorian, from the connection they'd built, from the man who had changed his entire company because of what she'd shown him. Her phone rang again. Her mother. "Have you seen it?" Teresa asked without preamble. "The tabloid?" "Yes." Leah sighed. "Are you okay, baby?" "I don't know, Mom." Leah's voice cracked. "Everything's happening so fast. That's how these things go. That we'll face it together. The board is meeting today." Leah hesitated. "Mom, Vanessa called me this morning." "How much?" $2 million. Teresa whistled. "That's life-changing money." "I know." Leah closed her eyes. "And the other part?" "The other part. Sounds like you already know your answer," Teresa said gently. "But what if Vanessa's right? What if the novelty wears off and I've given up everything for nothing?" "Life doesn't come with guarantees, baby. Not in love, not in business, not in anything." After hanging up, Leah sat in silence for several minutes. The Ellis Hotel's boardroom was tense when Dorian entered. "Gentlemen, ladies," Dorian greeted them, taking his seat at the head of the table. "I understand we have concerns to address." "Concerns?" Hamilton's voice boomed across the room. "With all due respect, Mr. Cartwright, Vanessa and I had a clear understanding about our arrangement. The public perception was exactly what we agreed to create," Dorian interrupted. James cleared his throat. "The business implications are clear," Hamilton snapped. "And what would you consider appropriate, Mr.? End this inappropriate relationship with your employee. Issue a public apology to Vanessa." Before Dorian could respond, the boardroom door opened. Patricia entered, looking apologetic. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Ellis, but Ms. Bryant is here. She insists it's urgent." A murmur ran through the room. Hamilton's face darkened further. "We're in the middle of an important meeting," he began. "Send her in," Dorian decided, ignoring the protests. Leah entered the boardroom with her head high, dressed in a simple but professional blue dress. "I apologize for interrupting," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Ms. Bryant," Hamilton said coldly, "I'm not here with a grievance, Mr. Cartwright." Dorian looked at her with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "Yes, I do." She gave him a small smile before continuing. Shocked murmurs filled the room. Hamilton shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I declined the offer," Leah continued, "not because it wasn't generous, but because I believe in what we're building here." She looked directly at Hamilton. "Your daughter understands value, Mr. Cartwright." "Pretty words," Hamilton scoffed, "but business isn't about feelings, it's about profit." "Is it?" Leah pulled a folder from her bag and placed it on the table. James picked up the folder, scanning the contents with interest. "These numbers are impressive. They're just the beginning," Leah said confidently. "Happy employees create happy guests. Happy guests become loyal customers who tell their friends." The board members began examining the data, their expressions changing from skepticism to interest. "What exactly are you proposing, Ms.? Give the Ellis method 1 year, a full year of implementation across all properties. Dorian stood up. It's my choice, she said firmly. I believe in this vision, Dorian. Enough to stake my future on it. Hamilton studied her with new interest. I prefer determined, Leah replied. What do you mean? Hamilton frowned. Vanessa called me again right before I came here, Leah explained. Hamilton's expression shifted, a grudging respect appearing in his eyes. That sounds like my daughter. The room fell silent as the board members exchanged glances. Finally, James spoke up. I move that we accept Ms. Bryant's proposal. Seconded, said another member. Hamilton Cartwright drummed his fingers on the table, his shrewd eyes moving between Dorian and Leah. Agreed, Dorian said quickly before Hamilton could change his mind. As the meeting continued with technical discussions, Dorian escorted Leah outside the boardroom. You shouldn't have done that, he said, once they were alone in the hallway. I believe in what we're doing, Leah interrupted. In what you're doing, and I believe in us. Dorian's expression softened. I trust what I've seen with my own eyes. She reached for his hand. The man who mopped floors at midnight, he entwined his fingers with hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she teased, then grew serious. What about the publicity? Leah shrugged. Let them take pictures. Eventually they'll get bored and move on to the next scandal. In the meantime, we have work to do. Dorian looked at her with wonder. How did you get so wise? I had a good teacher, she smiled. My mother always says that running away from a challenge just means you have to face a different one down the road. I like your mother more every day, Dorian said, smiling back. Good, because she invited us to dinner next Sunday. The next 3 months were a whirlwind of activity. The tabloids continued their coverage for several weeks. Hotel Hare and Housekeeper's Daughter, inside their secret romance, screamed one headline. Leah endured the attention with quiet dignity, neither hiding from the cameras nor courting their attention. By the first quarterly review, the positive results of the Ellis method were becoming clear. Employee satisfaction had soared, and the improved service was reflecting in guest reviews and repeat bookings. But I can't argue with these numbers. Even Hamilton Cartwright seemed impressed. I still think you're taking unnecessary risks, he told Dorian after the review. Thank you for giving us the chance to prove ourselves, Dorian replied. They established clear boundaries at work, with Leah reporting to the hospitality director rather than directly to Dorian. In private, they discovered the joy of building a relationship based on mutual respect and shared values. Hamilton snorted. For Dorian, these evenings became a grounding force, a reminder of the human impact of business decisions. Ellis Hotel's stock is up 12% since we implemented the full Ellis method. Now I measure it in how many people's lives are better because of the work we do. Thank that young woman of yours. She's got more backbone than half my executives. He leaned closer. Vanessa was right about her, you know. See? Doing the right thing can be profitable too. About what happens after our 1-year trial period. She told me, Daddy, that girl isn't after his money. She's the real deal. About what we're building together. Mrs. Harmon welcomed them warmly, showing off the Christmas decorations that adorned every room. Word has spread about this place. A relationship where we make each other better, where we challenge each other to grow. Coming from my daughter, that's high praise. As autumn turned to winter, Dorian and Leah settled into a relationship that balanced their professional and personal lives. True to her third condition, they volunteered monthly at a local homeless shelter, serving meals and getting to know the people there. Dorian took a deep breath. I love you. I want to build a life with you, not as CEO and employee, not as rich and poor, but as partners who make each other better. Will you marry me? Which is why I want to ask you something important. You know, he told Leah one night as they drove home from the shelter, before I met you, I measured success in profit margins and expansion plans. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Leah Bryant, you changed my life when you thought I was just a night cleaner named Marcus. You saw value in people that I had overlooked. You taught me what real hospitality means. Not luxury, but making people feel like they matter. A collection of small, personalized inns like this one, each with its own character, but all sharing the same philosophy of genuine hospitality. His eyes were bright with excitement. "And I want you to lead it." Dorian smiled. Who better to lead a division focused on the personal touch? "That's a good measure," she agreed, squeezing his hand. "Better than stock prices. Speaking of which, have you seen the latest reports? Are you sure? There will be skeptics, budget battles, endless meetings. But I believe in your vision, Leah, and I think it could change the industry even more than the Ellis method already has. I've been thinking about the future of Ellis hotels." He gestured to the inn behind them. "This would be the flagship. You could implement all your ideas, create the kind of places where people truly feel they belong. I want to earn my success, not inherit it. Your board, your investors." Teresa Bryant, radiant in a rose-colored dress, walked her daughter down the aisle. James served as Dorian's best man. Vanessa approached Leah at the reception, looking elegant as always, but with a softness in her expression that hadn't been there before. "Bryant," he pulled her close, "Antonio and I share a passion for art and history. With Dorian, it was always about business compatibility. Soon to be Mrs. Ellis, if you want. Ellis. But I know a losing battle when I see one. The way he looks at you." She shook her head. "Dorian never looked at me like that." Leah laughed. One snowy weekend in December, Dorian took Leah back to the Oakwood Inn. "The holiday bookings are completely full," she told them proudly. "We even had to turn people away. To finding what we really want, even when it's not what we expected. Might as well take advantage of it." When Vanessa moved away, he joined his new wife, slipping an arm around her waist. "And seed funding for the new division we discussed, Ellis Boutique Collection, with you as president and CEO. In fact, I was hoping we might discuss expanding our partnership in another way." Leah leaned into him. "I think we just made peace. Because I have a surprise for you." He handed her an envelope. "A wedding gift. Very junior. Arriving in about 9 months, if all goes well." Dorian's faith in her was unwavering. The first quarterly report came in yesterday. Profits up 7% company-wide. Employee turnover at a historic low. When she did, her face lit up with joy. "The inn, the new division, our future, all of it belongs to both of us now. Partners in every way. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I was waiting for the right moment to tell you. When you first decided to go undercover as a night cleaner, the board is thrilled. Even Hamilton admitted the Ellis method is a success. I've been bursting to talk about it." Leah smiled confidently. "But we've already proven we can do hard things. Together." But the true story of a night cleaner and an intern who found each other beneath the dust of pretense and expectation, that story belonged only to them. As they walked the grounds, now covered in a light dusting of snow, Dorian seemed unusually quiet. Both Dorian and Leah knew that the most important renovation they had undertaken wasn't of hotels or systems or policies. "Is everything okay?" Leah asked, concerned. "You seem distracted." Dorian and Leah Ellis shared a kiss that sealed their promise to each other, a promise of partnership, of growth, of a future built on honesty and respect. "I'm thinking about the future," he admitted, "running a business together, raising a family, balancing it all." Looking out at the gathered friends and family who had supported their journey, Teresa chatting with James, Mrs. Harmon showing photos to hotel staff. Even Hamilton and Vanessa seemed to be enjoying themselves. "We still have 9 months to go," she reminded him, "but the results are already exceeding projections. I'm not worried. It's not just about the business." Dorian stopped walking, turning to face her. "It's about us." "What are we building?" Leah asked softly. "Something I never thought I'd find." He took both her hands in his. "A partnership," she smiled. "I like the sound of that." The next day, a very different headline would appear in the Atlanta papers. "So do I." Before she could respond, he knelt down in the snow, still holding her hands. "Dorian, what are you doing?" Leah gasped. "Something I should have done the first time we came here." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. Tears filled Leah's eyes. "Let me worry about them," Dorian interrupted gently. "This isn't about business. It's about us." "Then yes," Leah said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you." As he slipped the ring onto her finger and rose to kiss her, snow began falling around them, dusting their hair and shoulders with tiny crystals that sparkled in the winter light. "There's something else," Dorian said, after they broke apart. "What about it?" "I want to create a new division within the company." Leah stared at him in surprise. "Me? But I've only been with the company for a few months. And in that time, you've transformed our approach to guest services, improved employee satisfaction, and helped increase our profitability. What would it involve?" "Developing a network of unique properties like the Oakwood, each one reflecting its local community while maintaining our core values." "It sounds amazing," Leah admitted, her mind already filling with possibilities. "It won't be easy," Dorian cautioned. "When would we start?" "After the wedding or before if you're eager," he grinned. "The engagement will keep the board distracted for a while." Leah laughed, joy bubbling up inside her. "You're a shrewd businessman, mister. I learn from the best, miss." "I do," she said softly. "But I think I'll keep Bryant professionally." Dorian nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I wouldn't expect anything less." The wedding took place the following spring at the Oakwood Inn. It was a small ceremony, with only close friends and family in attendance. To everyone's surprise, Hamilton and Vanessa Cartwright were among the guests. "Congratulations," she said, offering a glass of champagne. "You two are good together." "Thank you," Leah replied, accepting the peace offering. "I heard about your engagement to Count Rossini. Congratulations to you as well." Vanessa smiled. "Sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads you to what you really need." She glanced across the room at her Italian fiancé. "You could have made things very difficult for us," Leah acknowledged. "I appreciate that you didn't." "Well, I did try," Vanessa admitted with a wry smile. "For what it's worth, I think you'll be happier with someone who loves you for yourself, not for what your family connection brings to a business deal." "I already am." Vanessa clinked her glass against Leah's. Across the room, Dorian watched the exchange with relief. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Better than okay." "Good." Leah opened it to find legal documents. As she read them, her eyes widened. "Dorian, this is the deed to the Oakwood Inn transferred to your name." He kissed her forehead. "But this is so much responsibility," she whispered, overwhelmed, "which you've more than proven you can handle. So I don't have to resign and disappear from your life?" Leah teased. "Never." Dorian drew her closer. "Oh?" She raised an eyebrow. "A junior partner." It took Leah a moment to understand. Dorian nodded, his eyes shining. "I found out you were pregnant yesterday when you left the test on the bathroom counter." Leah laughed, tears of happiness filling her eyes. "And I was waiting for the right moment to give you this." He gestured around them. As the reception continued around them, Dorian and Leah stood together. "Did you ever imagine this?" Leah asked softly. "Never." Dorian shook his head. "I was looking for business insights, maybe a way to catch thieves. Instead, I found you. And I found the real man beneath the dust and the fancy suits." She reached up to touch his face, the man worth loving. "We still have challenges ahead," he warned. "I know." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the Oakwood Inn, in the distance a photographer captured the moment discreetly. Ellis Hotels celebrates new chapter, CEO weds hospitality innovator. The story beneath would tell of business success, innovative approaches, and a partnership that promised to transform the industry. And as they danced under the stars on their wedding night, surrounded by the inn that represented their shared dream, it was of themselves. And that work, like all worthwhile projects, would continue for a lifetime. The end.